Hello Dragoon, I'm Doom Metal and today I will explain what is a TMD file. I want to apologize because in my previous video, wow, 1 year ago, time really goes by. I didn't explain about what is TMD. Now your question, at least if you have one about this topic, will be answered. First of all, I will talk about some basics of 3D environment. There are several elements that compose of the 3D environment, and some of these are vertex, normal, face, edge or line, vertex index, normal index, and UV. What is a vertex? A vertex is a point in the 3D space generated by crossing imaginary lines in 3 coordinates, x, y, and z. Isn't a vector because vectors indicate a magnitude and a direction. Here you will find how a vertex looks like in the 3D space of Blender, a 3D software. What is a normal? A normal is a vector because indicates a direction and a magnitude. Also indicates the direction in which a vertex or a face is facing off. Also, these elements in the 3D space is used to calculate light's influence over the 3D structure. What is a face? A face is a surface composed by at least 3 verse joints. In it we can apply materials, colors, textures, etc. A note to this, in PlayStation, faces are planes. What is an edge? An edge is a line that results of connecting several vertices one each other. What are indices? Most of the 3D file formats have a database like, in which the elements stored are connected between by indices. For example, there are 4 vertices, A, B, C, and D. If we look in the vertex index, the vertex called A is in the first position, C is in the third, and D is in the fourth. In wavefront OBJ file format, indices are expressed as face index, in which the first value is vertex, after the slash is the vertex coordinates, and the third slash counts the vertex normal, as b/bt/bn. What is an UV? When a 3D model is textured, UV are coordinates to tell to the 3D software in which places a vertex must be placed. In a 2-dimensional space defined into U and V, the model must be unwrapped before. With this in mind, now we can talk about TMD files. We will talk about the standard and documented TMD files. TMD files are compiled to binary 3D files specially designed for the PSX. The structure is quite simple in some ways and a little complicated in others. Most of the elements that describe a 3D model in TMD format is like the standard 3D convention. TMD have vertices and normals, but the difference is made in the face and the edge elements. In TMD case, those two elements are part of something that in PCX is called primitives. Anything that will be displayed on the screen is called a primitive and exists a lot of configurations. The reading of the data will be in little engine. If you need some help, you can search over internet what means enginess. The header of standard TMDs is composed by three components. The first one is the header. Later comes the flag. Carries information about team configuration. Team is an image file format for PlayStation 1. Also carries information about if a file components must be read from the start of the file or from the start of the list of objects. The last component is number of objects, or an object, as the name says, is the number of objects present in the TMD file. A single TMD file can store a lot of objects. After this comes the object table. This table holds the information of placement and quantity of elements that compose the object. This table is described this way. Vertex top, that means the start address of vertex block. The end vertex is the number of vertices in object and in vertex block. Normal top is the start address of normal block, and normal, the number of normals in object and in normal block. Primitive top, the start address of primitive block, and unprimitive, number of primitives in object and in primitive block. The scale value is totally ignored. Then comes the blocks. Usually blocks of data are sorted this way: primitive block, vertex block, and normal block. Now I will describe properties of each element. Vertex is composed by 4 sub-elements: Vx, Vy, Vz, and path values. Each value have 16-bit length or 2 bytes. Path value is ignored. Normals are composed in the same way but described as nx, ny, nz, and path values. But they have a difference. These values are 16-bit fixed point. Also, the path value is ignored. Finally, the primitives. Primitives holds data on how the most little 3D structure must be assembled. The complete list will be light source calculation primitives of 3 vertex and 4 vertex, no light source calculation primitives with 3 vertex and 4 vertex, straight lines, and 3-dimensional sprites. Light source calculation is the method that PCX used to calculate and shade 3D models using ambient light sources. When light source calculation is not performed, the primitive will be processed with the light values that has been input. The primitives are the most complex elements of this explanation because of 2 reasons. They have a lot of possible configurations, and the second reason is each configuration have a different length in bytes. Sub-elements are the next: primitive packet header, primitive packet data itself, and now we are talking about the primitive packet header. The primitive packet header is made up this way. The first value is OLEN, represents the number of objects created in processing. Next comes ELEN, the quantity of rows of 32 bits or 4 bytes length in the total structure. Then comes flag, that it holds information about how to render the primitive. And finally the mode, that contains primitive type and other attributes. Primitive packet can hold different kind of data. This is used to assemble the primitive, and its usual data is vertex index, normal index, vertex colors in RGB notation, UV, TSV, and ZVA. The components that I will moderately describe are ZVA, TSV, and vertex colors. TSV is a value needed to know the configuration on how a primitive is textured. ZVA indicates the position of the TLoD, or color lookup table, in the VRAM. And finally comes the vertex colors. PCX can color vertex, and when vertices are connected in the primitive will be flat or graded color. Each value, R, G, and B, are 8 bits length. And if the primitive is no light source calculation done, the last value will be represent the brightness. With my recent developed tool, TLoD TMD Converter, you can convert from this TMD format to object and TLoD files. Both formats are pretty good depending on what are you looking for. OBJ, away from OBJ, is a simple and pretty standard format, handy for people starting on 3D modeling, while TLoD files are a little more advanced but support shading types and vertex coloring. This tool is pretty simple to use, but needs some stuff to be set up first. Anyways, you can search in GitHub as TLoD TMD Converter. Also, you can contact me on the TLoD Community Worldwide Discord in the modding category. I will leave the links on the description, don't worry. Well, this is all for now. Regards and stay tuned for more videos.